Hello. So, so I'm recording another video. This is going to be previous to the last video on this particular topic, meaning the next video is going to be the last one as to how to teach. This is what I would do. I would split my group of students in 3 groups by age. And I would go small kids or kids very young, and then teenagers and adults. And if you teach in any group with elders, well, then I would also create a group for that. So basically 4 groups. For kids, and I'm talking about teaching here in our Western society, I would start with games. I would incorporate a whole bunch of games. You can find them in YouTube, in any child psychology book, anywhere. So that's not going to be a problem. Or you can create one or have them telling you what is a fun game for them to do during a class, but it's got to be related to 3 aspects. One is going to be physical training and improvement. Second is going to be related to martial arts. And the third would be something that they have to think or improve their martial art with. Either it is the way to react to attacks, defense, kicking, punching, etc. Probably do something, like with a partner and stuff like that, because young kids, they mostly want to play and they want to learn, but you cannot implement the same discipline as teaching in Eastern cultures. That's what I would do with kids regarding classes. With teenagers, I would train them the way that you were taught to train, what you're supposed to train. And I would include very down to earth conversations on why my martial art, whatever it is I'm teaching, mainly karate, kung fu, kali, any martial arts that I'm decided to teach, why I do that. What do I think about it? Why do I think it's effective or could be effective at a moment of self-defense or in a real confrontation? And the third, you're going to have adults, same thing, pretty much. But now you're going to have to be more rational. Why this applies? Why is my martial arts effective against, I don't know, the trendy thing is jiu-jitsu or any grappling sport? How is my martial arts would be effective on that? Or be honest, why my martial arts would be a complement for a wrestling martial arts or a grappling martial arts. For example, okay, if you are doing jiu-jitsu, that's fine. That's your main martial art. Good. But it's also good to practice this, because if you're not on the ground, ground fighting or whatever, you need to punch, kick, or etc. Let me give you an example. In certain states, if you have a knife, a sword, anything that cuts, that's illegal. That's not good. Unless it's something that you work with. For example, Florida and Georgia, if you have a knife and you were a person that used that knife for working, for example, you are a delivery guy, then you can tell them, I open boxes with this, or work as a safety, I need to do this and that. Or you have a machete and then you work as an electrician out on the streets, you need to cut, vegetation, stuff like that. Then that is allowed. But in any event, sometimes it's got to have a measurement. I don't know exactly how many inches. However, if you have a stick, that's not a problem. And then a Filipino martial arts person is able to defend themselves against a knife with one of those. And I'm talking about a experienced Filipino martial artist. And I know this because my grandfather was very well versed in stick fighting. And he would fight, being careful and everything, with a machete. And I saw him disarming one of those farmers because he used to live in the countryside with a machete. So I'm not talking fantasy here. I will post a video on stick fighting. And stick fighting has been here in America, in the continent of America, or the continents. They're not the same number that they were when I was young, when I was a kid and I studied geography. It's been around for quite a while. So there you have it. Having an understanding and an honest advice and an honest opinion on the martial arts you do, or you teach, or you're trying to propagate. It's very important. People's not stupid. They're not stupid. They know. Try to mess around with anybody's money and see what happens, or time. So approaching your martial arts as it is. If you believe, and I strongly believe, and I've seen that, in internal energy, in jumping to a roof, like I've seen that before also. But people's not gonna believe it. Even if they see it, they're gonna think that if there was a helicopter that pulled a guy or whatever. But having an honest opinion in what your martial art is and what's it good for is very important. If you believe for yourself, and it's got to be for yourself, that all those intrinsical parts of martial arts, such as energies and magical things, or can be perceived as a magical thing, don't say it. Just be very, very picky as to who are you going to talk to about that when it comes to students. The fact that people nowadays, everything is seeing is believing, it is not helping traditional martial arts, because yes, there is a strength that comes with adrenaline. There is a meaning in Chinese martial arts when you see those guys flying with a sword, or just merely touching a branch and flying to the other branch with a sword or a quantao or whatever. And part of those beliefs was what a martial artist and what a martial art can do. Ancient people, they were not idiots. They're not gonna think that if you practice kung fu, you're gonna be flying, or you're gonna be stepping on trees better than a regular monkey. That's a no-no. It's part of a culture. It's part of the representation of the martial arts. So I would be very clear with those students. Now for the elder, I would be more related to health. My teachings would be more in the direction of health. And there, for traditional martial arts, you have a mind that you can explode. You have a lot of resources for health, either physical, mental, for reflexes, which is one of the first things that you lose with age, and they are very important for martial arts, that is. So you have a good amount of resources there. So take it to that level. Keep in mind this. If somebody's going to ask you, hey, can I beat two jiu-jitsu guys or two grapplers in a bar confrontation, or at the Dallas Cowboys. Well, not Dallas anymore. Las Vegas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys. Once the biggest are the Riders. I can, at the stadium, I can beat 3 to 4 guys. No, you cannot. And this is not for that. Even with a gun or with a weapon, like a firearm, it's very complicated to beat up 4 or 5 people. That's Hollywood. And what are you doing fighting 5 people in the first place? Or what are you doing messing around and trying to get into trouble at a stadium or at a bar? Listen, an average Joe doesn't have a fight out in the street, like a real serious confrontation, more than 5 times. And I'm being generous. So the fact that this particular martial arts, the older martial arts, good out in the street, this doesn't work. Work for what? Works on a serious confrontation or a semi-serious confrontation in an octagon, in a ring. You're not a professional. Your students, very few of them are going to be professionals. Professionals is the different type of focus, it's a different type of teaching. So how many times have you or your students fought for real? None. Or very few, because it's very problematic. I mean, the society is very aggressive, but it's very punishing when it comes to physical confrontation. You see, police officers, they're rarely just one of them. Even for spit tickets, they have a backup, another one of those patrol cars or whatever they call it. 2 or 3 of them. And I've seen it. Just the day before yesterday, there was just one driver. Of course, the car looked like a sport car. It's probably, I don't know if the guy just stopped immediately or whatever. But there were 3 different police vehicles. So there you have it. And also, the best resource is to go with one of them. With police officer, any law enforcement, in case you have a problem, unless you need to defend your home. But how many times, like I said before, how many times have somebody enter a house just by himself? So that you need to point out. I mean, what's a real confrontation? An argument? And in another person punching you, or you punching some other person, or get him in a hot lock or whatever? Are you willing to expend 3 hours a week, 4 hours a week, 6 hours a week, training something just to punch somebody that you may have an argument every 3 to 4 years? I wouldn't. I would train because I like the activity per se, and traditional martial arts has lots to offer in that regard. It's very, very rare that people's gonna get bored. You have weapons, you have, empty-handed forms, etc. So that's what I would do to start teaching, or I would start separating them. Now, why am I not separating the groups by skills? Beginners, intermediate, and advanced. Because the intermediates and the advanced people can help a lot by setting examples and being the rabbit in front of the hounds for other students. Say that you have two people lined up face to face, and then you start separating them to do techniques, like kind of like sparring, without hurting each other. That's a must. Then a black belt, most likely, if it is especially at young age, he's gonna want to be like the intermediate. I'll get there. And the intermediate and the advanced can probably give a word of advice to the ones why they do the technique. Or probably their arrogance, like that happens a lot. But that's the name of the game in martial arts. There are going to be arrogant people, and then they don't want to, mingled around with black belts, or I'm sorry, with white belts, etc. But but seldom the idea of being a white belt and fighting a person that does not know is complicated. They're gonna swing the punches. They're gonna do techniques that you can even imagine. They're gonna try to kick you in a way that is inappropriate, probably, but that you're not expecting. And they're gonna, most of all, they're gonna rob you of your timing because you don't know what next, and they don't know what's next. So there you have it. I'll see you in the next video, and I hope this helps. And the next video is going to be the last one on this topic. Have a nice day.